Wow, this is the divine world simulation game that every guy can't miss. Have you ever looked at something seemingly mundane and thought, I will turn this into something extraordinary? I did that with a withered Feoniella lucida tree forgotten on the balcony. Use a glass tank to create an ecosystem at the riverbed. You will become the creator for 50 days to maintain and create species, using a Feoniella lucida tree that has been abandoned for 2 years. Day 1. The rebirth of the Feoniella lucida tree. Don't underestimate a retiring Feoniella lucida tree. When I saw it, I didn't see a withered tree, but a bonsai full of potential. After a few hours of pruning and shaping, it was ready to take the stage. But the problem was, where's the stage? I decided to create a semi-aquatic tank, simulating a steep cliff and a deep lake below. It sounded grand, but in reality, I held a piece of formix, measured carefully, and cut. When attaching the plant pot to the tank, I decided, lower the plant pot 1 centimeter below the tank's edge to beautify the layout. At that time, I thought, it's just 1 centimeter. It should be fine. The terrible thing is, this small action would cost me dearly later. A semi-aquatic tank cannot lack the stones that make up the soul of the landscape. I started arranging each ice cream stone, carefully like an archaeologist reconstructing ancient ruins. The ice cream stones were arranged around the plant pot, layer by layer creating a steep cliff. To add more naturalness, I added long tree roots, making them look like they were clinging to the rock face to withstand time. The stone placement journey lasted from afternoon until 2 a.m. After hours of tinkering, I created a high and dramatic cliff. But that wasn't all. I found a strangely shaped stone, enough to make me shout, "Here it is, my flying island!" And so a floating island in the middle of the lake was born. That was also when I decided to turn off the lights and go to sleep, as the clock had struck 2 a.m. Day 2. Completing the underwater substrate, the secret to creating life. After finishing the main layout, I started designing the substrate. The first layer was a bit of substrate spread in the corner of the tank, planning to plant some manubias. Initially, I used ceramic gravel to create a design similar to the wall. However, I had to overturn the design because I wasn't satisfied. Then, I covered the entire tank bottom with fine quartz sand, slightly inclined towards the front to create a sense of depth. For decoration, I chose a few small stones, placing them cleverly in important corners. A few cute Anubias nanoplants were carefully attached to the stones and tree roots. Looking at them, I imagined a deep aquatic world where every detail played a role in creating the overall beauty. But that's not all. Back to the forgotten Feoniella lucida tree. Now it's time for it to shine. I covered the plant pot with a thin layer of substrate, then carefully planted the tree in the predetermined position. After that, I added lush green moss patches around the tree base, creating a soft grass carpet like mini prairies. To increase diversity, I decorated with a few fern branches and creeping plants. These small details helped the cliff not only be a place where the Feoniella lucida tree cast its shadow, but also a harmonious natural painting, creating a contrast with the deep world under the fish tank. Day 3. Welcoming the first inhabitant. The next morning, after squeezing in a few hours of sleep, I immediately brought the aquatic tank to my workplace, completed the final details, and released the first inhabitant into the new world.
Help me!
A green Zekan fish. This fish was like a pioneering explorer, swimming around curiously but full of wonder. Meanwhile, I was busy adjusting the lights, turning on the water filter, and then standing back to admire my creation like a scientist who had just made a great invention. Day 10. The ecosystem begins to live. After a week, the water in the tank had stabilized. I decided to upgrade the population with bright red cherry barbs and peaceful pencilfish. To make the tank more vibrant, 3 days later, I added 12 emperor tetras, bringing a sparkling blue color. The tetras swam in small groups, blending with the plants and rocks at the bottom of the tank, creating a breathtakingly beautiful scene. But to complete the picture, I needed a king for this kingdom. So, I decided to introduce a majestic betta fish, the ruler of this aquatic world. The betta, with its long flowing fins and striking red color, was not only a highlight but also a symbol of power, like an emperor stepping onto his throne. At this moment, I felt like a god, looking at the world I created with indescribable pride. Day 20. The bustling aquatic world. The small world in the tank had reached harmony. The tetras swam in schools, the red of the cherry barbs stood out, and the splendid red betta fish confidently showed off its colors in its kingdom. The Feoniella lucida tree grew greener, casting shadows on the water surface. At this point, the tank was not only a work of art but also a place I turned to whenever I felt stressed at work. Day 23. Plot twist. What's happening? Fateful morning. I walked into the office, and the first image that hit my eyes was the red bed of fish, the star of the tank, looking like it had just woken up from a nightmare. Its tail had small white spots, and worse, the emperor tetras and cherry barbs were not spared either. White fungus had attacked my world. I stood before a choice: save each fish or treat the whole tank. Fearing the fish would die if separated from the tank, I chose the second option, using antifungal medication directly in the tank. At that time, I thought, a little strong action should be fine, but the truth was not fine at all. Day 25. Faint hope. Initially, the medication seemed effective with the betta. The fish quickly recovered and swam energetically as if nothing had happened. But the emperor tetras were not so lucky. The white spots continued to spread, and the whole school became weaker. Determined to save the fish, I changed the water, added stronger medication. But that was a fatal mistake. The sudden change in environment caused the tank to lose its balance severely. The scenery was no longer harmonious as before, and the white fungus disease worsened. And that was my emotional journey in building a mountain and water landscape fish tank at the office. Each day was a new experience, from the joy of seeing plants and fish grow to the sorrow of facing fish diseases. But above all, it was the pride of seeing my creation come to life and bring relaxation to everyone. Oh fish tank, always stay beautiful and bring joy to all of us. Day 28. Weekend tragedy. The creator's sorrow. The 2 weekend days were not a time for relaxation but a prolonged nightmare. Bad news kept coming. My little fish were dying one by one, from plecos and emperor tetras to gobies, all succumbing to the dreadful white fungus disease. The medicine I once hoped would be a miracle cure turned out to be a deadly poison due to overuse. On the first day of the week, I arrived at work with a heavy heart, only to witness the last emperor tetras swimming sluggishly, constantly startled, as if fighting a hopeless battle with death. To find the unfortunate little creatures that had left this world, I had to peel off the black decal on the tank, an action any creator would loathe. Before my eyes was a heartbreaking scene. The poor fish lying still, reminding me that every mistake comes with a price. Day 29. Light at the end of the tunnel or a new storm? As fate called the names of each emperor tetra, in the end, only the betta and cherry barbs survived by sheer luck. I decided to offer a peace offering fresh bloodworms, the food they used to eat like there's no tomorrow. But this time, there was no excitement. The betta and cherry barbs just looked on indifferently, showing no interest, making me wonder, are they blaming me? Or are they simply too exhausted after the days of life and death? Day 36. The nightmare continues. Hell on land. When the water in the tank had stabilized, a new problem arose on the land part. The semi-aquatic plant pot I had designed 1 centimeter lower than the tank edge.
Stupid.
A seemingly trivial decision now came back to haunt me. Water from the tank seeped into the pot, causing the Feoniella lucida tree to become waterlogged, with its branches wilting gradually. To save the land part, I frantically used absorbent paper, continuously drawing water from the pot, like a doctor desperately trying to save a patient. But despite my efforts, one of the 5 main branches of the tree could not survive. At this point, my mountain and water landscape layout was like a disabled tank, losing its inherent harmony. Day 42. The return of hope. After more than a week of non-stop water absorption, a miracle happened. The Feoniella lucida tree began to sprout new branches. Life had returned. In the tank below, fish like red pencilfish and cherry barbs also recovered strongly, swimming happily in the clear water. The betta, still maintaining its boss style, did not miss any opportunity to eliminate any creature daring to approach the water surface, its inviolable territory. Day 48. New connections, golden friends. 20 days after the dreadful white fungus outbreak, I decided to bring new residents to the tank. Golden and black mollies, along with wild guppies, joined, bringing vibrant yellow hues and new energy to the aquatic world. This combination turned the fish tank into a true mountain and water painting, shimmering under the lights. Looking at the dead branch of the Feoniella lucida tree, I realized that sometimes letting go is part of creation. I carefully removed the dead branch, restoring balance to the layout. Day 50. Perfect revival, the creator's triumph. Today, I officially completed the tank after the stormy days. After thoroughly dealing with the water-absorbing soil, I added lush green ferns and soft moss patches, creating a land part as beautiful as a miniature fairy forest. Looking down at the tank, the betta, mollies, cherry barbs, and the new fish were all swimming happily, as if celebrating a new chapter. The light from the lamp reflected off the stones and roots, creating a scene so shimmering that I had to exclaim, "This is the perfect masterpiece for relaxation at work." If you also enjoy creative adventure stories like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Who knows? Next time I might build a deep ocean world or an aquatic universe in space. Thank you for accompanying me for 50 days. The journey of the creator and the mountain and water world.